Welcome back to Ask Dubey, episode 3. Thanks for all your questions that have been coming in so far. Keep them coming. I'm having a blast answering them. Wrapping up the first round, what an exciting first round it was. Oilers advancing, obviously the most important thing, but we wrapped it up with 2 Game 7s, one in dramatic fashion going into double overtime. So let's jump into those a little bit here. First, Colorado and Dallas. Colorado looking great on the road, looking like everything is going their way. Dallas kind of looked to sleep a little bit. Colorado gets a 2-0 lead. And then worst case scenario for Colorado. Of all people, Mikko Rantanen with 3 goals, 4 points in the third period. Unbelievable. Not surprised. I don't want to rub any salt on the wound for Colorado, but they look like they may have gotten past the sting of the Mikko Rantanen trade. It's still kind of hard to fathom why. It seemed rushed. For a guy that wanted to be there, for a guy that was top 5 player in the league every season. He's 6'5", he can skate, he's got hands, he's nickname's the Moose, and they trade him out east only to have him to come back to the west, and they see him in the first round. They're up 2-0 in the third period, and he puts them away by himself. I was rooting for Colorado a little bit, just with the guys that I played with there. I really appreciated my time there, and was rooting for them, but holy smokes, that's got to sting if you're a Colorado fan. You already miss him. Nobody wanted to see him go, and he comes back and ends your season in the first round. Couldn't be more devastating for the Colorado Avalanche. And what a game we had in Winnipeg. My goodness. Just the most unlikely of scenarios you could imagine. We're 1.6 seconds away from a whole lot of questions for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck having to answer questions about what's going on, where's the Vezina form, all first round. He would have really had to answer that after this game if it wasn't for heroics at the end of the game. And this game as well looked like it was put away. St. Louis had a 3-1 lead. Winnipeg looked sleepy. They weren't generating much. And they get a goal, 3-2. The place, if you've ever been in Winnipeg, it's absolutely insane in there for a 15,000-seat building. Explodes. They pressure again, almost score. Questionable. Puck might have been over the line. He was probably pushed in anyway, so it wouldn't have counted. And then, oh my goodness, Ehlers whiffs on a shot, gets the puck right back, and what a play. One-timer, shot tip, Perfetti, top corner. And then Winnipeg came alive, a little bit like Edmonton did when they changed their game, whatever. They got confidence, they started going. I thought Winnipeg was a much better team throughout overtime, but St. Louis had their chances all the way into double overtime. And it was extremely exciting. I haven't had too many experiences with overtime. My first one was in junior. I was 16 years old, and we were in playoffs first round, and we went to 4 overtimes. I wasn't playing the game, but I went from Bantam AAA on the hour clock to 4 overtimes at 1:15 in the morning, eating pizza in between periods. Unfortunately, we lost that one. I think it was 3-2, and the shots were like 95 to 86 or something ridiculous like that. So that was an interesting experience. I played one in the East Coast League for Stockton that went to triple overtime. Fortunately, we lost that one too. And NHL wise, I hadn't had too many experiences. I want to say maybe 5 or 6 that were all mid first overtime. So it's interesting. So I don't have too much experience with that. It's definitely a new thing, different feeling when you come off the ice after the third period, going into overtime, knowing that next goal wins, and the intensity kind of ramps up, and you have to do your best to not change that, not change anything that you're doing, and not get tense and tight because any shot is going to end the game, and we all know in playoffs how important each series is. So when you do win or lose those games, it is devastating to lose an overtime game because these guys work for the entire game, and then maybe almost 2 games like St. Louis and Winnipeg, and that loss can be pretty devastating because that could be make or break in the series. Look at the Oilers series where they put that game 4 away in overtime, and it changed the entire series. It ties the series. LA was 30 seconds away from being up 3-1 in the series. Now they're tied 2-2, and Edmonton looks like a wagon that's about to run straight over top of them. So the overtime games, it is extremely important, and you can see usually teams come out flying and score right away or settle in, and we have a long overtime like the Winnipeg St. Louis series. So first round did not disappoint. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. It's always disappointing after the first round. You don't get the 3 or 4 games a night, but excited to move on. Excited the Oilers are moving on. Let's get some questions. All right, first question from, I believe, Tobble Russ Dubey. Tell us what you thought of Kuemper's play and how the Oilers got to him. Did McDavid break his confidence in Game 1? Interesting question, but I wouldn't say that the Oilers necessarily got to him. I would say the Oilers got to the LA Kings. I thought Darcy Keumper was the only reason these games were absolute blowouts. I thought he played extremely well. I thought that potentially after Game 1, that there was a chance going into Game 2 and forward that he might be a little shaky with the comeback, maybe a seed of doubt. I thought he came back. He played extremely strong in Game 2. Other than the Oilers didn't test him that much. That's when LA was playing really well. But you look at Games 3 and 4, 4 especially, he played extremely well, played unbelievable in the overtime. And Game 5, the only reason that game wasn't 6-1 was Darcy Keumper looked unbeatable. And fortunately for the Oilers, they didn't change what they were doing. They continued to press, continued to create offense. Very creative. And I mean, the overtime, they just had chance after chance after chance. And the scary thing is he was right on top of all of them. He was extremely solid. Now, if you talk about breaking a little bit, I'm not saying he broke it all, because I don't think that it's sustainable to play as well as he played in overtime in Game 4 and Game 5 when the offense for Edmonton is doing what they're doing with the creativity and the skill level that they have. But when you have 2 games like that, you have an overtime where he makes 9 or 10 bellers in overtime and they lose. And then he goes into Game 5, stands on his head the entire game, tries his best to win the game on his own and still lose and go back. At some point, it can be deflating. At some point, it's almost like, that's the best I got. What am I supposed to do now? And whether that creeped into his head or not into Game 6, there's certainly, and then a couple goals maybe go in early. It was 2-2 early, then 3-2 for Edmonton. Then it's hard to keep yourself built up. You're so ramped up, feeling like you're doing everything you can to keep the game 1 goal, and now a couple goals go in. And then we did start to see some goals start to go through them. I'm not saying they're necessarily bad goals, but they did start to go through them, whereas the previous games they weren't. Obviously, Edmonton ends up with 6 and moves on. So I thought Darcy Keumper was incredible in this series. The only reason that overtime didn't end a lot quicker, the only reason Game 5 wasn't a blowout, and the only reason Oilers fans had anything to worry about for the last couple games. So good job by Kemps, better job by the Oilers. Okay, next question from Pope Luigi. There's a lot of discourse, especially among Oilers fans, about what is or isn't the fault of the goaltender when it comes to goals against. My question is, based on how you were coached, what kind of scenarios should the fan base be more forgiving with the goalies on? Well, coming from a goalie, all of them. I always side with the goaltender. Obviously, that's not the answer you're looking for. However, there's so many layers to this, I don't even think we have time to answer it. But try to be more forgiving to the goalie. You can watch, most people can see, obviously, if there is a bad goal. There's so many different things that can happen in front of you. This game is so fast, so skilled. The plays these guys are making, the way that they can shoot the puck. Yes, when people see a goal go straight in on a shot, they immediately think bad goal. There is a crazy thought that these NHL players can actually shoot a puck past a goaltender that they can see. They can do it. Some of these shots that Skinner was facing, that Picker's been facing, that the Oilers cleaned up a lot at the end of that round, where they were going east to west across the ice and getting Fiala or Kempe walking with a full head of steam. These are grade A scoring chances, and some of the best shooters on the other team, they can score. When the team is not playing well defending in front of you, what can happen is, as it goes on, when these chances start coming and you stop trusting what's happening in front of you, that starts to affect your own game. So if things are good and your guys are defending well, I know I have the shooter and I know maybe one other option. So I can sit on the shooter patiently, feet set, squared up, ready for the guy to shoot, knowing that if he doesn't shoot, there's one option. I know where it is. He makes that pass. I get over there, set, make that save. When things start to get scrambly, when the defense isn't playing well team-wise, and it starts to feel like there are 4, 5, 6 options, 7 options, 10 guys on the other team all of a sudden, and you don't know what's going to happen. Instead of being patient and reading the play and then going into it, what happens? You feel like you start to have to anticipate a little bit, almost guess where the play is going to happen, get ahead of these passes. You start to feel uncomfortable. When you don't feel comfortable with that, you start to shrink back into your crease. That can then add some backwards motion to your game, so your feet aren't set. You're thinking about where you have to go on a pass before the guy shoots it, and you're moving, and that's a lot of times when we start to see shots that go through the goalie or just beat the goalie that don't really seem like they should have beaten the goalie. And yes, you can fault the goalie for certain ones of those, but I think it's important in this is, one, you want to cheer for your players. So you can get mad at the goalie, of course, but it's important to watch replays. And it's easy for me to watch replays. I saw them all. But when you watch replays, look for subtle things. Usually when something happens that doesn't seem right or normal, it's probably because it's not. And if you watch the replay, look for little subtle crossing screens, because the way these guys shoot the puck, if the goalie loses sight of it for even a split second at the wrong time, just one player going across, right as the puck comes off the stick, if we don't see it come off the blade, that is our read's gone, and the puck is on its way to us before we saw it come off the stick. A lot of times, if it's a great shot, there's just no time to catch up to it. So look for crossing screens, look for little deflections. A lot of the straight shots, Connor Hellebuck, everyone looks at the second goal like it's a terrible goal. Yes, you want to make that save, but the guy's coming down the wing with a full head of steam. He takes a shot and follows through high glove, and it ramps the defenseman's stick. His stick doesn't get the follow through, and it goes with pretty good steam blocker side. So there's just so many things that go into it. And don't get me wrong, there are bad goals sometimes, and you can be mad about it. I think a lot of things, if you want to start picking on stuff, find if the goalie, watch the goalie, see if he's fighting to find the screen, to fight through the screen. See if he's looking around, see if he's working when the pucks are around to find the screen. See if his feet are set, if he's moving around, all those kind of things. But it's a tough game, and these guys are doing their best, and it's better to not pick on every goal. You look at these playoff series, a lot of goals are going in. There's the scoring is the way it is because the skill level and the creativeness on offense is better than it ever has been. And so it's a difficult job for these goalies, and they're doing their best, and I'm always going to have the goalies back. So never fault the goalie, but if you have to, just make sure you're watching the replays closely. All right, next question from Orange and Blue in My Veins. How hard is it to get your mind right coming into a game as a backup and having to play at your best after not playing for a while? That's a great question, and it varies. When I was a starting goaltender, the games that I didn't play, when I was playing 65 plus a year, the games that I didn't play, I wanted to fully check out. So I was on the bench, really hoping that I didn't have to go in that game. And so when you get placed in that situation and you're not prepared, not planning to be in the game, it can be a little more difficult to kind of ramp up and get there. I think the important thing is the goalies that are backup goalies, that are specifically backup goalies, they know what their job is. They've been in that role for a long time. You look at a guy like Pickard. He's been around for a very long time. He goes multiple games without playing. He has to be ready to come off of the bench. And so that becomes part of their routine, getting ready for a game. Is, like I said, if I just played 10 games in a row and I had a night off, I kind of take it easy before the game, warm-ups wise. Of course, I warm up and stretch and stuff, but I try to use it as like a full reset and mind reset, body reset. But when you're the backup goaltender and your job is to be ready all the time, and sorry, I'm not talking about playoffs either. I wouldn't be doing that in playoffs, but it's a different mindset and a different preparation. So these guys will have their routine and what they do to get ready, to get warm, to be ready to go for every game. They know on the bench how to get ready, how to stay in the game, knowing that their job is to come in if called upon. And then also, part of that routine and practice routine, pregame skate routine, all of these things, they're used to, and they know that their job is they only play once every couple weeks, maybe once a week, maybe once every 10 days, whatever it is. They have to find a way to be okay with these long stretches and be able to come in and find a way to feel okay and to battle and give you a good game. And so that's part of of their identity. And you got a guy like Pickard as well, that he's so good at that. He comes in and he works his butt off. I played with Al Stalock, and he would go for long stretches without playing, and you could still be a little shaky, a little off. But one thing is they always come in and they battle and they work and work and work. And you knew you're getting that from Stalock. Every single time he went in, he was going to be going 100 miles an hour, battling, working as hard as he could. And the guys are going to battle for him. And it might take him a few minutes to get into it, but you know what you're getting from him. Same thing with Pickard. The guys love him. They know he's going to go to war for them. They're going to go to war for him. And he's going to battle until he starts to feel good. And now he's playing well. But it helps too with these few extra days off, something that he's used to. It's just all part of preparation. And the guys who are backup goalies as their role, I think, are better suited for needing to come off of the bench and being prepared for that, or needing to come in after long stretches and know how to get in and play that game. So Pickard obviously showed he's able to do that, ready to do that, and hopefully he can continue to do that for Oilers fans. My final take going into round 2 for the Edmonton Oilers is keep doing what you were doing. I think we saw the confidence build, the aggressiveness. The aggressiveness on zone entries and defense was night and day. What they were not only defending well, not giving the open shots on the rush with full head of steam, not getting that third guy. Everybody as a group of 5 was working together, being aggressive, turning pucks over. And with how good the Oilers offense is, defensively, that's important. Almost, or more importantly, they're getting the pucks back and turning it on offense, which is what we all love to watch and what the Oilers are so good at. So I thought in the last 3-4 games, maybe 3.5 games, the Oilers just changed the way they were playing and they started being super aggressive. I would like to see them do that on the penalty kill. We talked about that. Great job getting clears, but I still would like to see them be a little bit more aggressive, at least at the start of the penalty kill, in order to generate those clears. But they were doing a much better job and got those clears toward the end of the series. And then just that confidence, the confidence of the team. They're always going to be able to create offense, but the confidence of everybody working together and just going out there and acting like the better team. The first 2 games, we were used to that in the previous LA series. We watched the game. It didn't matter win or loss. Edmonton just looked, give us a power play and we're going to score. We maybe lose this game. We're going to smoke you in the series no matter what. You had this feeling of this confident team. And the first couple games against LA, it felt the other way. It felt like LA was that team that was confident that they were going to control the game and take this over. And then the momentum shifted, and what we saw at the end of the series is what I want to see going into round 2 against a very good Vegas team, a team that's won the Stanley Cup, that has a history of knocking out the Oilers. And I think that if they can go in and continue that energy, aggressive, we know the offense is there, we know the creativity is there, and get the special teams on board, I think that the outcome is going to be different this year. I think if the Oilers continue to do what they're doing, they will move on. They are a dangerous, dangerous team right now if they play like they did at the end of the first round. That's it for this episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to submit your questions with the hashtag AskDubey on all social media platforms, or drop a comment in the video below. We'll eventually get to all your questions, but keep them coming. They've been great. It's been a lot of fun answering. We'll see you guys next week.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.